Is there anybody out there?
Over the years, humanity has committed countless heinous atrocities in the name of higher ideals. These ideals have ranged from the unification of the world under a single banner, to complete equality, to the purification of unwanted peoples. So, can these terrible acts be justified by the fact that they were meant to benefit the human race? Even if one says that intentions justify the actions, have we not learned from tens of thousands of years of existence that many actions committed for the greater good result in misery for many? And knowing this, how can we justify continuing such actions, despite their obvious negative impacts? So the question is, do we deserve to exist? As we knowingly inflict massive amounts of pain on our fellow man in this futile pursuit of perfection. For many, life is not worth living. And is it fair that we should live happily while they suffer? Or would it simply be better if none of us existed? Without existence, there would be no suffering. Do the benefits of life outweigh the costs and burdens also associated with it? It's life's greatest mystery, and one which humanity has failed to agree upon. So, Trevor, do you think humanity deserves to live?
I believe that humans deserve to live, yes, but as to our right to exist, I believe that we're still earning the right to exist through our actions and through everything that we do and everything that we've done. Because although humanity has good potential to perform good deeds, in the end, history shows that more often than not, we perform despicable acts of terror and genocide and violence. Are you justified to do something based on good intentions?
Yes.
The end result dictates that. If you have the intent of curing cancer, but instead you make cancer 10 times more painful for those afflicted with it, you're held responsible for that. You brought that into the world.
During Stalin's 30-year rule, he killed more than 20 million people. To put that into perspective, that's one person every 45 seconds for 30 years. So, Will, do you believe humanity deserves to exist?
No, I don't. No.
Do you believe good intentions are worth following even if they may possibly cause harm?
Well, from a utilitarian perspective, yes. I'd say the greatest good. The greatest good for the most amount of people. And so, if it only hurts a small amount of people, but it saves many, I'd say it's still wrong, because you're still hurting people.
Okay. Thank you. The Holocaust killed many more than the 6 million Jews commonly known. Nearly 20 million died during the Holocaust, showing us how truly evil mankind can be. With such destructive tendencies, should we really be allowed to continue this existence? Both world wars scarred the earth, evident in the horrific statistics of deaths among soldiers and civilians alike. Started by a few select individuals, their ambition for self-interest ultimately led to the deaths of millions of innocents, while in many cases the guilty escaped unharmed. Robespierre, as a major figure in the French Revolution, exemplified how good intentions of reform can lead to widespread suffering. While the majority of revolutionaries were somewhat moderate, Robespierre was able to poison these ideals for what he believed was the greater good, even if it resulted in the deaths of 40,000. Napoleon's conquests and personal ambitions led to the downfall of the French Empire, and the deaths of over 500,000 as he refused to allow it retreat from Russia, even when faced with a harsh Russian winter. The slow and painful deaths of many of these soldiers by starvation, freezing, and disease were a direct product of this selfish ambition.
So first of all, do you think humanity deserves to exist?
Who should be taking over? Here's the tricky question, right? I don't know, I think we abuse our environment. So, I mean, it's really hard to say if we deserve to exist at this point because we seem to exist along short-term interests, not caring for our future generations. So maybe the question is more, are we going to exist? As opposed to do we deserve. I think we're going to take care of ourselves and we won't exist pretty soon. I'm kind of one of those who, even though I'm working with the future generations, I'm not sure if we're going to be around 100 years from now, given that we're playing with very dangerous toys at this point and we seem to be focusing more on our individual well-being and interests as opposed to the greater good.
So Nicholas, do you believe humanity has earned the right to exist?
I do believe humanity's earned the right to exist.
So you think we've done more good than harm?
To ourselves.
I believe we've harmed a lot, but we've come in with a lot of technology, and that gives us the right to exist by being the most powerful.
Alright, so power defines who can exist, alright. And then what about if someone does something with good intentions but the consequences are bad, should he be allowed to do that and not be punished for it if his intentions were good?
Yeah, he should be punished.
Alright.
Okay.
Thanks, that's good.
Dirk Swamp, do you believe humanity has deserved the right to exist?
I believe we have a right to live. All things have a right to live, but we should live more purely as we are now. For example, with global warming, we're screwing up the planet. So if we are to continue to live, we should change our ways, so to speak. The way we've taken is a less pure way to live.
Have we done more harm than good to ourselves?
Yes, we have, definitely. Well, you could say, like the Rwandan genocide. 800,000 people died in 2 months. That's and the UN did nothing. So I mean, that just shows that we as people have lacked the moral capability to back other people. And so, in that regard, yes, we do not have the right to. We should not have the right to really say, who lives and who doesn't. That's not right at all.
The Glorious Revolution showed a rare example of triumph of human goodness over the ruthless rule of authoritative, power-hungry, tyrannical rulers who sought to impose their will on the people. Free decisions defeated intellectual and spiritual enslavement. Rarely is it that one man has the courage to stand up against the status quo and resist an oppressive regime for the good of his people. But when Martin Luther King Jr. stood up for the rights of African Americans, he dared to challenge the very backward system that had created this evil status quo. Even though he died for his beliefs, his sacrifice ensured rights for all African Americans. This demonstrates that although humanity can be selfish, ruthless, and brutal, it also has great potential for good.
You've come to fight as free men. And free men you are. What will you do without freedom?
So if, in all our countless years of existence, there's so many more negative events to choose from than positive ones, why should our existence be justified? However, there is one bright side to all of this. While most of these events have had horrendous implications, many of them were committed for the greater good. The fact that humanity has good intentions means that one day, when ignorance and superstition are wiped out, we may be able to progress towards perfection. Whether that goal is attainable or not is irrelevant. As long as we are able to work towards it, one day we will become worthy